So hello everybody, introducing myself once again because I don't know generally at the beginning of presentation. So my name is Kauê de Moraes Vestena, and my project, at least the title that I've put for this event, is a project and open source framework for web-based urban pedestrian network inventory using OpenStreetMap. But every time I teach, I chose a little bit this subtitle. But the thing is, I'm presenting about this project named Opensidewalkmap. So, well, how about you? How many of you are OpenStreetMap users? Or okay. The second one was meant to be how many of you know OpenStreetMap, but it's already answered. So first, a little tease. How many times you saw something like this, like the domain doesn't exist anymore when you try to go for a site, you know? There's the case of this one. That used to be a false project. The name was Mapazonia. That was for sharing projects of collaborative mapping using OpenStreetMap of Amazonia. Okay. Before I start to talk about my project, a little bit of background. So I am a cartographic engineer. There's a career in Brazil that's more centered at the part of engineering or dealing with numbers and stuff, geodesy, photogrammetry and so. So then I am master in geodetic science and I'm doing my doctorate at Federal University of Paraná. Well, about of how all of this started, I'm a cyclist, and well, the app that I used isn't that one, is that commercial one, but they always give me bad routes, route directions as a cyclist. It's been always giving me suboptimal routes where the really better ones were others. So then, as a cartographer, I realized that they just don't have the data. They don't know about anything about the surface of sidewalks. They don't know about the condition of the sidewalks, or the inclination, or the width of them. So then I started to research on the field of pedestrian networks and mapping of them, starting since the philosophical part, the ontologies of what is a pedestrian network or the ways that you can map them. So I have related projects like teaching people on how to map, thinking on accessibility and on the combat of the ableism, that is the misconception against people with disabilities. And also I created a QGIS plugin named OSM Sidewalk Creator that is to create the geometries of sidewalks, and I presented it at the last state of the map. So, introducing the team, sidewalks are very important, so they mean safety from the traffic. In the United States, almost 80% of the car crashes doesn't occur at the crosswalks, but at the sides. So, if you are running and walking alongside a road, the bigger chances for you to get hit by a car is if you're walking in any place that doesn't have a sidewalk. When they are in a good shape, they can mean accessibility as well. And why not comfort, you know, and also security, you know, because everything starts with accessibility. Without accessibility, we have nothing. But it's important to also have security and comfort while you are displacing. And also, pedestrian networks in general are ubiquitous. There's this study of this European Institute that says that at least 30% of all urban mobility are done in pedestrian networks and cyclistic networks. And way more important, so important as this, is that they are needed for a brighter future. They are related to many goals of the SDGs from the United Nations. So they are needed for climate change because they are zero carbon way of displacement. They promote a healthy style of life, you know, because you are walking, and they promote inclusion in general because, well, have you ever how many people in wheelchairs you saw around? You probably saw a little few, because many times they don't even go outside their houses because they doesn't even have the means to do so. Okay. But frequently, they are in a very, very bad shape. These are photos of my city, and many of them are actually in richer neighborhoods. Okay, and this one is very, very symptomatic of what I'm talking about. Then, thinking, well, I think that every one of you know about the importance of cartography. Then, the first thing that we need to do is to map these pedestrian networks, you know. So there's this schema of mapping sidewalk networks as separate geometries, because many times in cartography sidewalks are treated as a secondary stuff. You won't find any national mapping agencies mapping sidewalks. So we have three basic elements of pedestrian networks. There are the axis of the pathway, you know, generally the axis of the sidewalk, and there's the crosswalk and the access points where you can have ramps or just a high curb or even an elevated crosswalk. Then, you know, the solution is map and store it on the best FOSS geodatabase, that is OpenStreetMap. Yeah. So, problem solved. The end. Thanks, audience. Just kidding. Those OpenStreetMap have a set of tools to manage pedestrian networks, yeah? Because one thing is to map them, yeah? Thirdly, no, yeah, OpenStreetMap is multi-purpose. You can map buildings, you can map manholes, you can map trees, and well, these ones are in the context of urban mobility and urban scenarios as well, but is like this. OpenStreetMap is multi-purpose, and in this regarding about this topic, there are already systems for pedestrian network inventory. Yes, there are a few of them, but you know, there are good points about them. Generally, they are web-based, featuring maps, and they are made by the public sector, so they are generally publicly available. But generally, they need to establish its own system to edit the data. They are not OpenStreetMap data. Some of them, actually, the majority of them, lack a clear licensing term. So, can I use this data? We don't know. Generally, you need to send that email to that guy that doesn't even know if he really can, and it's afraid to ask for his chief if it really can share this data. Okay, and the major problem in the context of here is that they are generally all based on proprietary software, you know, Esri, and sometimes the data source is proprietary as well. And generally they are not replicable. So then, currently only I'm creating Opensidewalkmap. You know, this is the website. I can show you at the end if you want to take a note. Currently there are only two nodes here. I was about to prepare a node for Prizren, but there are no sidewalk data on the city, and then I just can't. So first of all, there were many inspirations to create this project. The first one is these flavors of OpenStreetMap. That was the first idea, like OpenStreetMap, OpenSidewalkMap, OpenCycleMap, and Open Railway Map. And there's this project named Equal Streets Names that are also modular project that each city you got a module, and it's have the statistics about the gender of the names of streets. It's a very interesting project. And so then, what exactly Opensidewalkmap is? Well, it's a decentralized and modular project. For each available location is stored and maintained in a separate repository on GitHub. And in each of these nodes, you got modules. And each module is a functional application for a different matter, you know. And then actually, currently we got these 4 ones, but new ones can be added, you know, because it's modular, so the functionality concerning the whole project can be expanded. So this is how a main page of a node looks like. It's basically you go through the index of all nodes, the Webmap, that's the index of all nodes. Click them. There's a search tool to when hopefully there will be many nodes in the future. And next I will be presenting each one of those nodes. So the first one that's kind of obvious is on interactive web map with detailed mapping of the sidewalk network, and so you can see that for each stretch of sidewalk you can see of what it's made or what's the condition. You can see the types of crosswalks and also the type of the access points. So you see, the reality is that generally many neighborhoods there in Brazil, you can go from one corner to another using the same type of sidewalks, you know. And neither they got the same conditions, and neither they got the same type of crossing of access points. You know, at one side of the crosswalk you got a ramp, at the other side you didn't have it. The second thing is an uptimes routing app that till this day is still just a Streamlit demo, very simple. But it got the most important part, that is to create routes featuring characteristics done by pedestrian displacement. So left and right side may be different. Pedestrians use crosswalks and not intersections, road intersections. It takes in consideration the surface material, condition, and other parameters of that sidewalk beyond just length and slope. That was what that router used to use when I tried to find good cycleway, good routes for cycling. And the idea is to have many different navigation profiles. So, you know, for example, a high curb is a very good thing for a blind person because there's a separation between the sidewalk and the street. And it's very bad for example, a wheelchair user. But at the same time, for example, an elevated crosswalk that is amazing for people using strollers and wheelchairs can be very dangerous for a blind person because there is no separation between the sidewalk and the road. Then you can see quite a noticeable difference when you look at this and there. Behind the scenes, this stretch is impassable, you know. Another module is the statistical dashboard, where you got the bigger picture of the data, so you can you have all the data aggregated, and then you can see how many kilometers of sidewalks made of concrete you have, and you can see the number of revisions, the data aging, and so on. And all graphics are interactive, so you can pick a slice of that data and look for it, and zoom and stuff. There's also the quality check module that analyzes the data to find possible mistakes on the data. And they are indexed, and then you got the link to go for the feature and search, do like search and destroy. There are planned modules like a data watcher that may look for the changes, mainly looking at vandalism on OpenStreetMap. And something like a data collection validation hub to automatically fetch projects mapping at that place, that top pedestrian networks. And then the part that I think that's most important for this Congress and how it is implemented. So it's all kept on GitHub. There's the main repo where there's the word map indexing the available nodes. And there's the backend, the code base that is a shared submodule, or where all functions that fetch and analyze daily OpenStreetMap data. And there's the Opensidewalkmap GitHub organization, where there's the original node repository that's of Curitiba, that is the template node, and there's the other nodes. And daily, they are updated using GitHub Actions. So this runs the page deployment and update the data. So then it's all deployed using GitHub pages. So these tools from GitHub are all free. So it's it's a system with zero cost of implementation. At least it's a zero cost implementation system with zero cost to be implemented. So my main idea is that may enable small municipalities to create something like to use the system. The essential libraries that are used are OSMNX that encapsulates the Overpass API, that does the data fetching, and it's interesting because it can slice the data, so you can download a huge city using Overpass, because there's a limitation on the Overpass. I'm using, I'm a cartographer learning how to program, how to do development. So I'm using Folium, that with 3 lines of code, it creates an HTML page with the leaflet Webmap and all the boilerplate code with 3 lines of Python, like import Folium, read the data, export the HTML file. And there's the GeoPandas that does all the geospatial abstraction that encapsulates GDAL and Fiona, and does the data filtering, the querying, everything that you generally do in the context of data science. geospatial data science. And there's the amazing library named Altair that allows to create those interactive maps. And there's also the streamlets that are to be replaced that creating that routing demo. And there are the beautiful SOAP and requests for things with HTML. And in the future, I'm gonna be using the awesome API to track the changes on the data to OpenStreetMap and maybe create alerts if there's vandalism. So there's final remarks that I think that my time is over. Yeah, but there's very quickly, there's lots of room for improvement. The project is still a bit experimental, so if you go there today, you may see some things not working properly. And my hope is that will be used for the public sector. And if Microsoft shut it all down, the code's still there and can be deployed, say, by the guys of Cloud 68, for example. And there's the main links, and thank you all.